Welcome to the Retail Insider video interview series. I'm your host, Craig Patterson, and we're joined here today with a special guest. This is Tony Flanz. He's the founder of Think Retail, a Montreal-based brokerage, which has worked with some of the biggest retailers in the country and has done all kinds of great things. Welcome, Tony.
Thanks, Craig. It's a pleasure.
We've known each other for a while, not 20 years, however, but let's talk a little bit about this 20-year milestone here and what inspired you to start Think Retail in, well, I guess it would have been in 2005.
I got to tell you, I'm so proud that it's our 20th year anniversary. I'm calling this our best is yet to come tour. So I'm expecting a lot of great things in the near future. I had been with another brokerage firm going back to, I think it was 2000. And I had several clients who were pushing me for a more white glove service environment and offering, and they wanted more resources, they wanted more time, they wanted more expertise, and I was highly motivated to provide that for them. And it was that was the impetus and the inspiration for me starting Think Retail.
What was your vision for Think Retail at the time, and how has it evolved?
Well, I very much wanted to differentiate myself from the other brokerage firms that were in Canada and that I was competing against. So I was very passionate and I was creative and I threw a lot of ideas up on the wall. Most of them stuck, and my clients very much appreciated the extra attention that they were getting. So I don't really believe that my vision has changed at all. I am still incredibly motivated, incredibly passionate, incredibly committed, and I love what I do. So it really hasn't changed.
Excellent. Do you remember your first client or deal, and what was that like?
I'm so happy you asked me that question. My first client remains the client that is so important to me and who I have developed such an incredible relationship with. It was the company called Bizou, and the owner of the company was Marcel Lebrecq. I met Marcel when I worked with Olympia, New York, going back to 1996, and I leased him a store in Place de Rayon in Chicoutimi, and we began working together in my first year. Obviously, it's the first client. I think I did about 100 new leases for Marcel and Bizou. I did probably 50 renewals, 2 acquisitions. I renegotiated 120 leases through protection of bankruptcy. And I think perhaps the most special part of it is, I'm jumping. Marcel had a heart attack during our tenure together. And the family meant a lot to me. And I would go 2 days each week to Saint Marie de Beauce to help the family guide the company and be with them physically. And I did that for 6 months. So a relationship developed that was very personal. And then Marcel entrusted me to teach his son how to do real estate. His son then opened a chain called Hot Fudge and asked me to be his broker. I was incredibly touched. And now more recently, I began working with his son, Kim, and I'm working with his company called Mia. And hopefully we're going to expand them into the United States very shortly. But it's a relationship that I cherish and I am so incredibly grateful for. And he was my first deal.
I guess with a small business early on, in order to grow a business, owner has to take some risks. Were there any big risks that you had to take in your early days, Tony, with Think Retail when you were younger?
That's another good question. I didn't see any. All I saw was upside. My glass is half full all the time. I'm extremely confident, so I didn't see any risk.
Let's talk about some growth and key moments here. What would you say were some of the defining moments that shaped the growth of Think Retail? Because you've had a lot of clients, and then were there any challenges along the way early on or even recently?
It's easy to think of what my finest moment was, and another moment that I cherish. I was introduced to my late wife by one of my clients, Gene's Experts. And that was in, I believe, the first year that I began working with jeans experts. And I did for at least 5 to 6 years. And we remain good acquaintances today. And what more special could come from a business relationship than having been introduced to your wife, who is a very special person. And that is the number one major thing that transpired. The other couple are more business related. I recall I was in Sun Valley in the United States. It goes back to 2009, I guess. And I received a call from the folks at Fossil saying that I was hired to manage and strategically assist them with their real estate throughout Canada. Fossil was the first international brand that I represented, and it was a major turning point in my career. I look at something else. I think it's always a pleasure to think of big deals in big centers, and there's no bigger center than Yorkdale. So I'm always fond of thinking of my first deal in Yorkdale, which was American Apparel. And that was very exciting. I will tell you after that how many calls we got in our office from people who were unhappy about American Apparel advertising and their campaigns, but we were obviously not involved in that. And I was just proud that we put them in a very strategically located space in Yorkdale, the greatest mall in the country. Here's one that's, key moments. It's nice to know that a community cares. And you're about to hear a story of how I've spent my whole life caring for other people. But I'll tell you that story right after. But it was nice to find out that a community cared about me. And my son was diagnosed with autism in 2004. My wife and I worked tirelessly to help him learn normal life skills. And it was difficult each day. There was in 2011 the first Autism Speaks walk in Quebec, and that was held in Montreal. And we joined, and we entered as Matthew's Army. And I reached out to everybody I knew in the shopping center and the retail business in that first year. And I believe that I raised $50,000. And in the second year that we participated as Matthew's Army, we raised $50,000. And you have a picture of that people are going to see. So I'm incredibly proud. I was incredibly happy. We raised $100,000, and I was left with the feeling that my community cares not only about my son, but about me. And that was very special for me. So I appreciated that. And you asked, did I face any challenges? And this is a related story to the one I just told you. We've been very successful with Think Retail, and I'm a very extroverted person. Everybody knows that. I love being around people, and I try and be happy all the time. I said to you, my glass is half full. So I don't think many people knew the challenge that I faced when I started Think Retail. It was the same year that we diagnosed my son with autism. And so I had to hire a staff, clinical therapists and educators, teach them those life skills. And that went on for a period of time. But during this time, my wife was diagnosed with a devastating terminal disease. And my life then began as a caregiver, which continued for 10 years until she died 5 years ago. So during the time that I began Think Retail, I was dealing with my son and trying to teach him how to become self-reliant and have normal life skills. And then my wife got terribly ill. And so there was the situation that surrounded my life. But at the time, I could tell you that work was my salvation. And I was very thankful to have a place to go where I had enjoyment and gratification. But, there is some good news at the end of the day, and there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And today, my daughter owns a skincare and gift store in St. Henry called Ellen Jane. So I invite anybody who's watching. They give the best facials in town. And my son is doing beautifully. And I expect next year he will live on his own and become self-reliant, and that's a dream come true. So that was the ground that I had at the time, and I thrived. I embraced it, succeeded, and glad that I did. And think retail is a passion. That was very beneficial at the time.
That's quite the story. Now, with Think Retail here, we mentioned earlier that you brought some major international brands into Canada. And are there any others that we want to talk about that you've brought in over the past 20 years to this country?
Well, I take great pride in having done so. We'll be introducing new brands in 2026. As we did in 2025, we brought Adopt into Canada. We introduced Kmart 24 into the Canadian market. And in the coming year, we're going to introduce Morgan de Troyes from France, who are a very well-known ladies' wear brand. And we have begun to work with Crocs to help them expand in Canada as well. So those are just two, but there's several. We continue to work with Le Creuset, and we continue to work with all sorts of, special, globally recognized, best-in-class retailers. And we have a lot of deals that we're negotiating right now.
And now you must have quite a relationship with landlords, just because over time you're doing negotiations, you're bringing tenants in, and tell me about how that's evolved over the years, relationships with landlords.
Well, then, I'm not sure if it's evolved so much as expanded. I've had wonderful relationships with landlords, and I'm really proud and somewhat humbled by that. But, when you treat people fairly and you deliver what you say you're going to deliver, and then you are there to assist them time after time if there are issues, people appreciate that. People appreciate honesty. And for 30 years in this business, I've been the same Tony Flanz that everybody meets from one occasion to the next, always with a smile, always happy, and ready to open the next exciting brand.
That is excellent. Now, you've over the last 20 years and even more with your experience, you would have seen some seismic shifts in the Canadian retail industry. What are some of the most significant changes that you've seen?
Well, certainly the greatest change in the industry is the increase in online shopping. I know personally, I order 4 to 5 things a week come to my apartment. I know people that are addicted to Amazon and online shopping, and it's people want things now. It's like fast fashion. If you're not Zara and you're not H&M and you can't have it in your store within 7 to 10 days, you're not competing properly. And that's the advantage that the Amazons and the Walmarts and the Costcos have, is that they get it to you fast and overnight. And that is good retailing. So that has made it more challenging for the landlords to understand how to attract shoppers into their centers. And they continuously work tirelessly to do so. And I think the Cadillac Fairviews and the Ivanhoes and the Oxfords have done an exceptional job in making their centers more entertainment hubs than fashion malls. And I think that's the trend going forward, is to make them entertainment hubs with service, with entertainment, with restaurants, with pickleball courts, with passport offices, multi-use properties, and no longer self-reliant on solely fashion. So I think those are the two biggest changes. And obviously, technological changes make our business easier and more efficient. Google Maps and how we can look at that and see different locations very quickly. That's so beneficial to us. And video calls. So pre-COVID, I don't think I did more than 1 video call a week. And I think since, and every week, if I don't have 8 to 10 video calls a week minimum, that would be surprising. So that has grown and evolved into a very major part of our business. But I'm happy it has, because we see each other more frequently now through these video calls and then the audio. And that has benefit.
I do a lot of these now as well. The pandemic brought us a bit more technologically into the future, perhaps, but still, not a big fan of it. But is Canada still a good place to do business? Are we seeing opportunities?
Oh, phenomenal. We don't do a good enough job at selling ourselves as a optimal place to invest in. And how do I know that? It's very simple. There's no saturation here. If you look at international retailers, the reason they're so successful is because nobody's got the product here. There's no competition. So in the US, it's like, I think there's like 43 square feet per capita per person of shopping center space. And that compares with, I think it's 13 or something low like that in Canada. So we have so little shopping centers by comparison to the US, yet we have in the same geographic mass to cover. So when you think of that, there's incredible opportunities. So there's that. Our shopping centers still remain 25% more productive in Canada than the US. So if you're coming here, you know, based on demand and pent up demand, that you're going to do very well. If you serve your market well, you're going to perform much better than you do where you have a fleet of existing stores. So that's appeal. The banking sector is strong here. The housing sector is robust. I don't know a better country than Canada. I really don't.
Yeah, no, especially now. I think we're in a lot of Canadian nationalism, and then you'd be right on board with that. So that's terrific.
Ready to be team leader.
No, I think it's great. Has the brokerage business changed over the last 20 years? I probably don't have to ask that question. Has it? I guess the question let me ask the question again. Let's do that. Now, how has the brokerage industry changed over the past 20 years since you got started, Tony?
That's just like I said to you, a greater emphasis on the video calls, the addition of Google Maps as a tool for us. There is consolidation like in any other marketplace. So there's a need to have greater resources today. Information is king. And the reality is, I still have enough ego that I will tell you that I have better information than many internationally based companies because I do more transactions than there are people here. And I have relationships that are so valuable and beneficial that I pass this on to my clients. And that's why I have such high client retention.
Looking to the future, where do you see Think Retail going in, say, 5 to 10 years?
Well, I said this is our best is yet to come tour. So I'm putting the pressure on myself. I'm certainly not standing on my laurels. We're going to continue to expand. We're going to play in the field that we continue to play in. That's the international market. We're going to continue to enhance our relationships with US brokers that have been very valuable and continue to offer the best service possible to our clients and remain passionate for them. I always tell my client, by the way, and this is important, I won't lease a store for them that I cannot release. Ask me why. If I can't release it, we shouldn't be releasing it to begin with. You are entrusting me with your money. I am 60. I need to sleep every night. I need to know that I am doing right by my client. And right by my client is giving great advice. And you know what, quite frankly, I make very few mistakes anymore. I did, but I've learned from them. And that's the value of being what people are saying is a grizzled veteran.
Now, Tony, I guess anything planned for the summer here, coming up to a lot of hot weather? What's going to be happening with Think Retail and with you personally?
We have an exciting summer plan, and we're anxious to complete some of the transactions that we've been working on. I think they're very prominent, high-profile deals that everybody will be excited once they open. Other than that, I'd like to get in some golf, some tennis, and take a little bit of time off and recharge the batteries.
We need to do that. I know I need to do the same here as well. I hear you're recently single, Tony. Ladies are probably going to be after you, especially after watching this podcast.
You're too kind. Thank you so much. And I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. This has been Tony Flanz. You're the founder and principal of Montreal-based Think Retail. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Tony.
It was a pleasure. I appreciate it again. Thank you. Anytime.
And I'm Craig Patterson. I'm the founder and publisher of Retail Insider, as well as the host of the Retail Insider video interview series. Thank you so much for joining us here today, whether or not you're watching us on camera or whether or not you're listening to us on a podcast channel. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Take care and bye for now.